An important theme in this course are the challenges that one has to face when applying AI in practice. Well-known and important challenges which we anticipated for our applications were, for instance, the task of getting high-quality data and the prevention of unwanted bias. However, there is much more that needs to be considered when applying AI in practice. In this lesson, we will discuss some of the lesser-known challenges. The kind of practical AI that we are discussing is the kind which supports decision-making in some business process. This type of AI requires the capability to handle the domain data, but also capabilities regarding explaining its output and being transparent about its inner working. For this reason, we could not, for example, train an end-to-end system where you put in a document and you return a generated course of action, such as a follow-up question for an online fraud report. A challenge is to get guarantees, not high probabilities, of our system that its suggestions are indeed relevant with respect to the input, and that its conclusions are legally sound, and that it can provide a logical explanation why a given suggestion is given. For instance, in the case of online fraud reports, it would be damaging to the police's reputation if an AI support system requires you to dig up all kinds of irrelevant data, which they will not use in your particular situation. Another thing that might happen is that the system will provide advice that you feel is very counterintuitive. In such cases, you'd like a proper explanation on the spot, just as you would get when filing a report at the police bureau. This is why we had to combine data-driven techniques with symbolic techniques, as discussed earlier in this lecture series. Furthermore, focused on generic functionalities that could be reapplied in many processes in order to maximize the return on our investment. The flip side of the coin is that you increase the system's complexity. This brings us to another important challenge: how to balance between the complexity of the product versus its genericity. A complex system requires different skills from the organization surrounding it. It requires more specialized developers for its maintenance, which makes finding your technical personnel harder. In our experience, the members of the AI workforce tend to focus on either the data-driven side of AI or the symbolic side, and multidisciplinary experts are quite rare. Furthermore, many developers are not university graduates. Unfortunately, AI still tends to be mainly an academic topic. Therefore, the upgrade of AI skills for mid-level educated programmers who make up a considerable portion of the AI of IT workforce has to be considered for an applications development. Another challenge that we had to face is that in order to experiment with practical AI, one often has to create a system that is more complex than is strictly necessary for a particular experiment's domain. This causes friction between the business side and the innovation side of a project. Our advice would be to consider two final solutions: a principled solution that is ready for the future with respect to data, compute, and workforce skill levels, and a simplified solution that can be applied at the current time. One can use the principled solution as a guiding star to work towards for the maintenance of the simplified solution. The last challenge that I would like to discuss concerns regulations. There is at the moment a lot of attention for ethics and legal issues with regard to AI. Especially for a government institute, this is an important topic. The fact of the matter is also that there are currently no clear guidelines and best practices for developers. Therefore, one has to find a way to create AI applications in such a way that they are also robust with respect to the future developments regarding policies for AI. One of the ways we do this at the police is to actively participate in policy-making discussions and contribute by providing our applications as use cases. This way, we can get a good feel of upcoming regulatory frameworks. Do note that such discussions take place far away from the target business process. So prepare yourself for some discussion with project stakeholders who are out of the loop regarding regulatory developments and wonder why these views on these topics keep changing. To summarize, we address 4 challenges. First, combining data-driven techniques with symbolic techniques might increase complexity. Secondly, complexity versus genericity. You need to consider the upgrade of AI skills because that is very important. Thirdly, experiment and create iterations to facilitate both day-to-day operations and innovations. And finally, regulations and ethics are important conditions for AI. Make sure to create robust AI applications with regard to future development and policies. Hopefully this information helps you to bring AI towards practice. It might not be easy, but it's definitely worth it.